A woman living alone is not a woman waiting. She's not incomplete. She's not sad. And she's definitely not broken. She's a woman who made a choice. A woman who looked at her life, her peace, her space, and said, this is mine, and I'll protect it. See, we've been sold a script for too long that a woman's value is only fulfilled in the arms of a man, that an empty house must mean an empty heart, that if she's alone, she must be aching for someone. But that's not the truth. That's tradition speaking, not reality. Here's the truth. A woman can live alone and still feel more alive, more whole, and more surrounded by love than someone trapped in a relationship that starves her soul. Because loneliness isn't about proximity. It's not solved by a warm body in the next room. You can feel lonelier beside someone who doesn't see you than you ever will sitting in silence with yourself. And women who choose solitude, they know this deeply. They felt that difference. They've seen what it costs to keep someone in your life just so you're not alone. But let's go further. These women, they don't just survive in their solitude. They thrive in it. They come home to peace. They wake up without the noise of unmet expectations. They decorate their space the way they want. They make decisions without compromise. They build routines that center around their dreams, their ambitions, their pace, not someone else's approval. And yes, they have hard days. Days when the silence feels too loud. Days when the world makes them feel less than for not fitting in the mold. But guess what? They also have days of immense clarity. Days when they look around and realize, I created this. I earned this peace. I made this life. Living alone doesn't mean being unloved. It means loving yourself enough not to lose yourself. It means that dinners can be candlelit even if there's just one plate on the table. That joy doesn't require an audience. That a woman can cry on her couch, wipe her own tears, get up, and still carry her life with grace. It takes strength to be alone, not the strength that comes from building walls, but the kind that comes from building roots, deep ones, solid ones, ones that say, I'd rather be grounded in truth than floating in someone else's fantasy. So no, she's not lonely, she's not waiting, she's not empty. She's full of dreams, full of wisdom, full of experience, and yes, full of love, just not the kind that begs for validation. Let's stop mistaking independence for isolation. Let's stop assuming that a woman's home needs a man to make it complete. The truth is, her presence, her peace, her power, that's more than enough to fill every room she walks into. We hear that word and immediately think something's wrong, that she must be hurting, waiting, hoping someone fills the silence. But here's what we don't say out loud. Sometimes the silence is the healing. Sometimes the stillness is the breakthrough. Solitude isn't sadness. It's not isolation, punishment, or proof of rejection. It's strength. And real strength doesn't always come from holding hands with someone. Sometimes it comes from holding your own peace and refusing to let anyone disrupt it. The world doesn't like when a woman chooses herself. It makes people uncomfortable because we've been taught that being alone is a fallback, not a decision. That she must be waiting for her real life to begin when someone arrives. But what if she's already living that real life? What if the absence of a man is not a gap, but a boundary? Solitude is where a woman finds her rhythm again. She remembers who she is without the noise, without constantly trying to be understood, fixed, explained, or made small to fit someone else's comfort. In solitude, there's space to breathe, space to grow, space to finally hear the voice that matters most, her own. Think about it. There's power in not needing constant distraction, in not being afraid of quiet nights or empty rooms. That's not sadness. That's emotional maturity. That's the kind of strength that doesn't shake when the phone doesn't ring or when everyone else seems coupled up. It's the kind of strength that says, I'd rather be alone and whole than attached and half alive. And no, it's not always easy. Sometimes solitude feels like a long hallway with no clear exit. But in that space, she finds clarity. She learns that not all company is good company, that loneliness can teach you what fake love hides, that peace is not something you buy with attention or affection. It's something you earn when you stop running from yourself. Solitude is not an empty bed. It's a full spirit. It's a deep exhale. It's the freedom to laugh out loud in your own kitchen with no one there to judge you. It's the ability to dance barefoot in your living room to songs that only you love. It's finding joy in your own presence, in knowing that you don't need a witness to validate your worth. So let them talk. Let them wonder why she lives alone. Let them call it sad if they must. But the truth, it takes more strength to be at peace with yourself than to chase love that wounds you. That kind of solitude, that's sacred. That's powerful. That's not sadness. It's self-respect in its purest form. Here's something society rarely admits out loud. Some of the most powerful growth happens when a woman is left alone with herself, when she's not shaping her dreams around someone else's comfort, when her time, her energy, her money, her body, her space, they all belong to her, not shared, not compromised, fully hers. Because when a woman lives alone, something beautiful begins to unfold. There's no constant performing, no shrinking, no second guessing if she's too much or not enough. She starts to meet herself again, not the version the world asked her to be, but the real one, the raw one. The one who maybe had dreams put on pause because someone else's needs were louder. Suddenly, she has time to dive into that side hustle she always loved. She picks up books that feed her mind instead of scrolling through endless texts that drain her spirit. She joins communities that nourish her soul, signs up for classes that excite her, and travels in directions that don't require someone else's permission. That's not selfish. That's sacred. Because when a woman gives herself back to herself, she starts to unlock parts of her that have been asleep for years. The creativity, the ambition, the joy, and not joy that's dependent on someone else's mood, but joy that grows from within, from late nights spent journaling, from early mornings filled with purpose, from daily decisions made in alignment with who she truly is. And here's what people miss. Growth like that doesn't always happen in relationships. In fact, many women stop growing the moment they enter a partnership where they're more focused on keeping it together than keeping themselves intact. Single living, on the other hand, creates room for transformation. It invites her to say yes to herself in ways she never could before, to heal parts of her that were once ignored, to study her triggers, understand her boundaries, learn what makes her light up and what shuts her down. It's not about hating men. It's not about swearing off love. It's about choosing to build a life that's solid before someone else steps into it. And when that happens, when a woman develops fully on her own without applause, she doesn't attract just any kind of relationship. She attracts better because she's no longer trying to fill a void. She's no longer looking for someone to complete her. She's already whole. So let's stop painting singleness as a waiting room. It's not a pause before the real story begins. For many women, this is the story. And it's a story filled with growth, healing, and becoming. Single living isn't a backup plan. For some, it's the breakthrough. There's something powerful that happens when a woman learns how to enjoy her own company. She raises her standards, not out of pride, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Because once she's lived in peace, once she's created a life where she wakes up without anxiety, goes to bed without emotional confusion, and spends her days choosing herself, she's no longer willing to settle for chaos dressed as companionship. She's tasted what it feels like to come home and feel safe, to walk through her own door and not feel tension in the air, to spend a weekend doing exactly what she wants without explaining herself to someone who doesn't understand her soul. That's not loneliness. That's emotional freedom. And once a woman knows that freedom, anything less becomes obvious. Suddenly she sees through the games. She doesn't get pulled in by attention that lacks intention. She doesn't chase texts or settle for breadcrumbs of affection because her time has become valuable. Her peace is now sacred, and she's not about to hand that over for someone who doesn't know how to respect it. See, when a woman is constantly in relationships, sometimes her standards stay blurred. She becomes used to settling, used to adjusting. But when she's alone long enough to reconnect with herself, she starts filtering differently. Not every compliment flatters her. Not every, hey, stranger, earns a reply. Because now she's not looking for a rescue. She's looking for a match. And here's what people don't understand. Women who live alone aren't afraid of love. They're just not interested in low effort love. They're not looking for someone to complete them. They're looking for someone who can join them. Someone whose presence adds value to a life that's already rich in meaning. That's why their standards go up, not because they expect perfection, but because they've learned not to abandon themselves just to be with someone else. They've felt the cost of compromise. They've seen what happens when they ignore red flags, dismiss their intuition, and trade their inner calm for temporary connection. And now they'd rather wait or even walk alone because anything that disturbs their peace is too expensive. So when a woman lives alone, she doesn't just grow, she refines, her discernment sharpens, her boundaries solidify, and her love, when she chooses to give it, comes from a place of wholeness, not need. That kind of woman doesn't need to be convinced. She doesn't need to be chased. She needs to be understood. And if you can't bring that to the table, she's not afraid to eat alone. From childhood, women are often fed the same narrative, that marriage is the ultimate goal, that being chosen is the highest compliment, that a woman without a man is somehow unfinished, like a book missing its final chapter. But when a woman lives alone, owns her space, and still smiles like she's got everything she needs, it flips that old story on its head. And that scares people because her independence exposes the lie that says love must come from the outside. The lie that says her identity is tied to someone else's last name, that she's only valuable when she's attached, spoken for, or taken. But when she starts paying her own bills, making her own decisions, traveling, laughing, healing, growing alone, it shows that maybe the fairy tales were never real. Maybe love isn't the finish line. Maybe being whole on your own is the real win. And not everyone celebrates that. Family members start dropping comments like, when will you settle down? As if living alone is temporary, as if she's incomplete without a ring. Friends ask if she's talking to someone, like that's the only thing worth talking about. People wonder if she's too picky, too proud, too intense, too intimidating. But the truth is, she's just not performing for approval anymore. She stopped measuring her worth by someone else's presence. She's redefined success not as a wedding, not as a title, but as waking up every day with peace in her chest and purpose in her steps. And when you challenge the system resists. That's why people try to label her, to box her in, to make her feel like she's missing something. But deep down, she knows the only thing she's missing is the weight of other people's expectations. She's not bitter. She's not angry. She's just awake. She sees how generations before her were told to settle, how they were asked to shrink, how they gave up dreams for dinners, peace for partnerships, voice for validation, and she's made a quiet vow, not me, not this time. So when a woman chooses to live alone, it's not just personal, it's powerful. It's her saying, I will not live on autopilot. I will not be another echo of tradition. I will write a new story, even if it means walking it alone. Her independence is not rebellion, it's revelation. It reveals who she really is beneath the roles she was handed. And in doing that, it exposes the myths for what they are, old rules made to be broken. There comes a point where a woman has to ask herself, what's the price of having someone beside me? Not just financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Because if the cost of companionship is her peace, her sleep, her joy, her dignity, then it's too high. And the women who live alone by choice understand this better than anyone. They've been in the rooms where love felt like tension, where being together meant being talked over, where being committed meant walking on eggshells just to keep the peace. So when they choose solitude now, it's not from fear, it's from wisdom. Because peace is not a luxury, it's survival. It's health, it's breathing fully without waiting for the next argument. It's laughing without bracing for the emotional crash. And if that peace is only possible when she's alone, then alone becomes sacred. This isn't about giving up on love. It's about refusing to settle for a love that feels like war. The world may not understand it. People may whisper, she's so beautiful. Why is she alone? As if her worth is still measured by her relationship status. But they're asking the wrong question. The real one is, what did she protect by choosing to stay alone? Maybe she protected her dreams, her health, her children, her heart. Maybe she learned that not everyone who wants her deserves access to her energy, that not every relationship brings safety, that sometimes freedom is found in closing the door and locking it, not to keep the world out, but to keep herself safe within. Peace isn't boring, it isn't weak, it's not the absence of love, it's the presence of self-respect. And when a woman finds that, truly finds it, there's no going back. She doesn't chase, beg, or try to prove she's worth it. She already knows she is. So when someone comes along, they have to bring more than charm. They have to bring peace too. Because she's not giving up her solitude for someone who adds noise. She's not trading silence for confusion. She's not opening her life to someone who still hasn't figured out how to love without hurting. And if no one meets that standard, she's okay. Not pretending to be, not faking strength, but deeply, fully, honestly okay. Because she's chosen herself. Not because she gave up on love, but because she finally fell in love with her own peace. And once that happens, everything changes. So let them whisper, let them stare, let them wonder why she's walking alone into that restaurant, smiling like she owns the world. Let them question why she's not rushing into arms, not updating her relationship status, not molding herself to fit someone's idea of enough. Let them wonder, because the woman who lives alone is not missing anything. She's reminding the world what wholeness looks like. See, the truth is, her silence speaks, her solitude speaks, her self-sufficiency speaks. Every time she chooses herself over noise, over chaos, over shallow connection. She's making a statement, a quiet one, but a firm one. I am not afraid of being alone, but I am terrified of losing myself again. And isn't that the part no one tells us? That the scariest thing is not the empty bed or the quiet nights. It's waking up next to someone who doesn't see you. It's shrinking just to be kept. It's settling just to not start over. That's the real fear. And that's the very thing she's protected herself from, because once you've been burned, once you've watered dead plants for too long, once you've poured from a cup that no one ever bothered to refill, you realize something. Peace isn't optional. It's non-negotiable. It becomes your baseline, your starting point, your measuring stick, and anything, anyone that threatens it doesn't get in the door. She's not cold. She's not bitter. She's not guarded. She's just done paying the price for someone else's presence. She's built a life, maybe a quiet one, maybe one without loud applause or flashy titles, but it's hers. Built brick by brick, decision by decision, prayer by prayer. Built through the heartbreaks, the lessons, the lonely nights, she chose to stay true to herself instead of running back to comfort. And that kind of life, that kind of foundation, it's sacred. She knows now that the goal isn't just to be loved, it's to be at peace while being loved. And if love disrupts that peace, if it makes her question herself or shrink herself or break herself into little pieces just to be accepted, then it's not love, it's emotional debt. And she's done taking loans on her happiness. She's not in a race. She's not trying to catch up to society's timeline. She's not trying to match anyone's highlight reel. She knows timelines are lies. She knows joy can't be rushed. She knows real, deep, grounded love takes time. But more importantly, she knows that she doesn't need it to feel fulfilled. Because fulfillment doesn't come from a last name change. It comes from waking up in integrity, from knowing she's not betraying herself anymore, from knowing that every decision she's made, every door she closed, every boundary she set, every night she cried alone was an act of self-respect. And that kind of respect, that's priceless. People may say she's too comfortable being alone, as if that's a flaw, as if comfort should come from someone else. But they don't understand comfort isn't complacency. It's the reward for doing the hard work. It's the evidence that she's healed, that she no longer confuses chaos with passion, that she no longer needs constant stimulation to feel alive. She's found her rhythm, and she won't give it up just to please tradition. She sees her solitude now like armor, not because she's hiding, but because she's protecting something precious. Her energy, her light, her voice. She knows how easily it can be dimmed, how quickly it can be buried under the weight of the wrong relationship. So she guards it not out of fear, but out of wisdom. And yes, if love comes, she'll welcome it if it's gentle, if it's respectful, if it knows how to sit beside her without taking over. But until then, she's not waiting. She's living. She's traveling, creating, working, laughing, sleeping peacefully, crying honestly, healing slowly, growing steadily. She's not putting her life on pause. She's pressing play on her own terms. Because at the end of the day, the most revolutionary thing a woman can do in this world is be okay without needing to be chosen. She's already chosen. Chosen by the woman she's becoming, chosen by the life she's built, chosen by the peace she's protected. And maybe that's the real truth no one talks about. That a woman living alone might be the freest person in the room. She's not a mystery waiting to be solved. She's not a puzzle missing a piece. She's a complete picture, standing tall in her own frame. A story already worth telling, a masterpiece still in motion. So don't feel sorry for her. Don't pity her. Don't ask her when she's going to find someone, because maybe, just maybe, she already has. She's found herself. And that changes everything.